You rotated the secret. You revoked the old one. You patched the exposure point, filed the incident, and moved on. That is the standard response to a compromised credential, and it addresses exactly the wrong part of the problem. The secret was never the threat. The secret was the door. What you should be asking is not whether the door is now locked, it is what walked through while it was open. That distinction changes everything about how you respond to a secret compromise, and most teams never make it. Here is what actually happens when a secret is exposed. There is a window, sometimes hours, sometimes weeks, between the moment the secret became accessible to an attacker and the moment your team detected it. That window is not empty. An attacker who found a valid API key, a database credential, or a signing certificate did not hold it in reserve. They used it, and the things created during that window are still there, operating on their own timeline, completely independent of whether you rotated the original secret yesterday. The first category is derived tokens. Many authentication systems work like this. You present a credential, the system issues a token, and from that point forward, the session runs on the token rather than the original secret. Session tokens. OAuth access tokens, signed JWTs, temporary cloud credentials derived from a role assumption. These tokens were minted using the compromised secret, but they carry their own validity window. When you rotate the secret, you close the issuance point. You do not expire the tokens already in circulation. The attacker's session, created 3 days before you detected the exposure, may still be active. The original credential is gone. The access it purchased is still running. The second category is access patterns. What the attacker actually did during the exposure window. They authenticated to your database and ran queries. They called your internal API and pulled records. They accessed your object storage and retrieved files. Those actions happened. Rotating a credential does not undo a read. The data that was accessed is accessed. If it was exfiltrated, it is gone. The question you need to answer, and most teams cannot answer it cleanly, is what was accessed and whether that access carries consequences of its own. A secret compromise that reached a database containing customer records is not just a secrets management failure. It is a data breach. The rotation is irrelevant to that determination. The third category is attacker-created artifacts. This is the one that persists longest and gets found last. An attacker with authenticated access does not only read, they write, they create. A compromised AWS key gets used to provision a new IAM user with its own independent credentials. A compromised GitHub token gets used to register a deploy key against your repository. A compromised service account gets used to spin up compute resources in a region your monitoring does not cover. The attacker no longer needs the original secret. They created their own access using it as a launchpad. Rotating the original credential severs exactly nothing about the foothold they left behind. The artifacts outlive the secret that created them, sometimes by months. The fourth category is downstream trust. Secrets rarely authenticate to a single isolated system. Your database credential reaches the database, but the database feeds other services. Your API key authenticates to a service, but that service has trust relationships with adjacent systems. The blast radius of a secret compromise is not bounded by what the credential directly touched. It extends through every trust relationship reachable from the authenticated position. An attacker, operating as your data pipeline service account, did not only access the pipeline, they accessed everything the pipeline was authorized to reach. Mapping that graph is harder than it appears because it requires understanding what each service credential was actually permitted to do transitively, not just what it directly connected to. Most organizations do not have that map, and most incident responses do not build it. Stack those four categories, and the picture shifts considerably. A secret rotated within 48 hours of confirmed exposure might still leave behind active derived tokens running on unrevoked sessions. an audit log that cannot tell you exactly which records were read. Attacker-created access artifacts in systems adjacent to the original exposure point, and a downstream trust graph touching services that were never included in the initial scope. Rotation closed the original vector. It did not close anything else. There is a timing problem layered underneath all of this. The average window between secret exposure and detection is not hours, it is days or weeks for most environments. The reasons are consistent across this series. Secrets end up in unmonitored locations. There is no centralized visibility to generate revocation signals, and the teams responsible for investigation are not alerted until something visibly breaks. Every day in that window compounds the residual risk. More derived tokens in circulation, more access patterns established, more artifacts created and embedded. The detection gap is not just a failure of monitoring, it is a multiplier on the scope of everything that must be investigated and remediated after the fact, which makes the response question concrete. Responding correctly to a confirmed secret compromise requires, in sequence, revoking the original secret and any derived tokens traceable to it, auditing what authenticated access occurred during the full exposure window, searching the environment for artifacts created under the compromised credential, mapping the downstream trust graph to identify secondary exposure surfaces, and only then determining whether the incident scope includes a data event that carries its own obligations. Most incident responses start and end at step 1. The reason residual risk matters is not theoretical. It matters because teams that treat rotation as the conclusion of incident response are not finishing the response. They are suspending it. The credential is gone. The evidence of what it accessed, the sessions still running from it, the artifacts it was used to create, those persist on a different timeline entirely. A secret has a lifecycle. The consequences of a compromised secret have a longer one. Closing the door is not the same thing as undoing what walked through it while it was open. And in most environments, there is no clean way to know exactly how long that door was open before anyone noticed.